Hi, everybody.
Hi, good morning.
Welcome to Mondays with Moss. This is our new series.
And Judy.
And Judy, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you know what our new series is about, Judy?
Anxiety.
Anxiety sucks.
Anxiety sucks.
10 ways human beings make themselves miserable.
We hate it. And we do it to ourselves.
That's how I feel on Monday morning, usually.
Yeah?
Anxious? It's a little, I think Mondays, of all the days in the week, Mondays...
The most anxiety. How about Sunday night?
Yeah. It was particularly bad in high school.
Was it? Mm.
Yeah, I knew the next day I had to face my algebra, which I sucked at.
Did you?
It made me really anxious.
I was good at algebra.
Yeah, but you were. You could have tutored me, but you weren't.
I don't know if you would have been my type.
Okay. So anyway, I think we should start with an introduction.
Okay.
So here are some of my thoughts, because I've probably spent more time thinking about this than you.
I don't know why you think that, but okay.
Just I prepared.
Okay.
All right, so I think most of us, if not all of us, want our lives to turn out okay. We want some safety, comfort, success, people to hang out with who care about us. Well, we want to have some feeling that we have some control over our destinies.
That would be nice.
On the other hand, there is what reality and life throws at us. Life can be hard, difficult, frustrating, and sometimes miserable. Okay, this series is about 10 ways that human beings make themselves miserable. It's not what life throws at us, like economic problems, marital problems, family problems, relationship issues. It's what we do with ourselves that make our lives difficult. So the first one that we're going to talk about is taking things too personally. But I thought it might be useful to first just take a look at what is misery. Now, what is misery? I actually looked it up.
What is it? Oh, did you?
Yeah,
oh, great. What did you find out?
I actually wrote it here.
Okay.
A state or a feeling of great distress or discomfort of mind and body. And I think as psychologists, Judy, you and I have found out that misery and people's anxieties are more than just what's going on in their mind in terms of thoughts. It's actually a feeling in your body. Yeah, right. A lot of my clients, when they tell me about they've had a tough week, I say to them, tell me what's going on a scale of 1 to 10, how anxious or uncomfortable did you feel, and where did you feel in the body? And they start to think about, oh my God, maybe there's a relationship, a connection between mind and body. Okay?
Yes, okay.
All right, so some questions about taking things personally.
Okay.
I'm not sure if this has ever happened to you, but, and it's all you guys watching us, okay? Do you get hurt? Do you easily get hurt and fret over what others think about you? Is that a big issue?
That is a big issue for some people.
Do you find that true?
I have some clients who spend an awful lot of time worrying about what people think. Even people they don't know might be thinking of them. People they pass in the street.
Right, it's interesting, isn't it? Right, right. They're very sensitive to that.
Very.
How do I look? What are people, they're looking at me, they must be critical, that kind of thing. Yeah. Do you feel others are ignoring and leaving you out of things? Like
the old FOMO, huh? Fear of being left out.
That's
fear
a good one. What does
fear
that mean?
of missing.
What does that mean?
FOMO, fear of missing out. You know, but I think particularly now with social media, you know, people are prone to be on, let's say, Facebook or other platforms, and they see people they know with other people they know having fun and doing things, and they were not included. And it's very hurtful often because they do take it personally. Why wasn't I invited? Why wasn't I included?
And they can take it very personally and get deeply hurt.
And be very unhappy,
And if someone doesn't return your phone call, you make up a story about it.
I have done that.
You have done that?
Not from one phone call. But if I've called somebody 2 or 3 times, which, by the way, is unusual. Anybody who knows me would go,
you
you're called
terrible.
Somebody, right, because I'm not a phone person.
Right.
But on occasion, I have, reached out to a friend more than once, haven't heard from them, and then my mind starts going on, oh, did I do something that they're mad at me?
Right.
Whatever, and what I've learned is I just have to keep persevering till I get a hold of them. And often as not, it has nothing to do with
to find out what's really going on.
Yeah, something else is going on for them.
Yeah. So do you think it's human nature to take things personally?
Well, I think people do have a propensity to see everything from their own point of view.
Right.
And so I think that it is a pitfall that most people experience.
Yeah.
You know.
So I don't think we're talking here about being in a highly abusive relationship.
No, we're talking about the normal everyday
slings and arrows of everyday life.
Right, exactly. We all experience calling a friend, not having them return our call. You know, seeing people we know doing something and we weren't invited.
Yeah.
I think most of us have had those experiences.
Yeah, I think so.
Sometimes going all the way back to when we were in grade school, which have sensitized us.
Right. So we kind of continue that hurt even though we're fully functioning adults.
I've seen that happen with people, yes.
Right. I'll give you an example. I was seeing a client a number of years ago, and very successful.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a upper level manager in his company, and his company was having a big meeting, and as they had every month. And he was walking fully prepared. His team had done very well the prior month to the meeting, and his boss was walking in the opposite direction, holding a whole bunch of papers, looking kind of perplexed. My client looked at the boss and said, "Hi," whatever his name was, with a big smile, and the boss did nothing. He just continued. No response, continued walking by, and my client said, "Oh my God, the boss is angry with me. I must have screwed up. I don't know what I did, but I'm in a lot of trouble." By the time
he immediately jumped to that explanation of why the boss didn't respond to him.
He took it very personally. It ruined his experience in the meeting. He didn't contribute anything. He called me up and he said, "Moss, I think I'm going to quit my job." And I said, "What are you talking about?" They explained the situation. I said, "So what did you notice?"
Yeah.
I said, "As soon as my boss didn't say anything, I could just feel the terror in my body. Like my body felt like it was under siege. Like I was being." He rated his anxiety about an 8 or a 9. And I said, "So what do you think that was about?" He says, "Well, I know what it's about. I did something wrong and he's going to fire me." I said, "What's your evidence?" They said, "I don't have any evidence except he didn't look at me. He always says hello to me. There must be a reason he didn't say hello to me. I must be in trouble." I said, "So you're doing some mind reading." We call that mind reading. You're jumping to a conclusion because you didn't get the response that you wanted at the moment. He says, "Well, what do you think I should do?" I said, "I'm going to tell you what to do, but you're not going to like it. But it's going to require some courage. Go right back to your boss's office, knock on the door, go in and say, 'Hey, I want to run something by you. Something happened this morning. I think I may have taken it personally, but if I'm in trouble, I want to know.'" He says, "Oh my God, Moss, that's humiliating. What if he says, 'You are in trouble. You're fired right now. Get your box and get out of here.'" I said, "Well, that's a possibility." He said to me, "Are you going to give me a job?" I said, "No, I'm not going to give you a job. I'm a psychologist and you do something differently. But this is what you need to do. If you don't, you're going to ruminate about it, fret about it, take it out on your wife, take it out on your children, take it out on your team, and you're going to whine and complain to me for another 2 or 3 weeks about it."
Well, if he was right, he was going to get fired anyway.
Yeah, right. That's right.
Right. So this is
bite
the bullet.
If you have a big frog to swallow the first thing. Anyway, he went back. Calls me back immediately after he sees his boss, laughing. "Oh my God, I can't believe I'm such an idiot." I said, "What happened?" He says, his boss said, "Oh, no, I didn't even see you there. I was so worried about my own presentation. I realized I left one of my pieces of my paper someplace around the office or around the building. I didn't remember where it was. And I was really upset." So the boss was preoccupied with his own issue, but my client took it personally. I don't think that's that unusual.
I don't think it's unusual.
Well, no, it's a phone call, somebody not saying hello back. All right. So, what do you think the impact is of our taking things too personally?
Well, I think we cause ourselves a lot of pain and suffering that, you know, may not have been sort of in the cards without
a lot of
that.
suffering,
Right. Because if we don't check things out, I mean, what you suggested your client do was to go check it out and not to just live in his head. He was in his head rather than just finding out, well, what are really the facts?
And that's really what we're talking about, the misery that we create by our own thinking. Rather than being in reality, and a great technique, I think a really good technique. If you think you're taking it personally, go check it out.
Right. It takes courage, though.
It takes courage.
It does take courage because once you've convinced yourself
Uh-huh.
that it has to do with you, then you're expecting affirmation on the part of the other person. You're hoping that they'll tell you no, but you're kind of expecting that you're thinking that you're right about it.
Right.
So it does take courage to do that.
I think another impact, besides living in misery and frustration, is that you're spending too much time thinking about what other people may be thinking about you, rather than you getting on with living your own life. What's important to you? What are the actions you need to take, and just get on with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, so here are some signs that you may be taking things too personally. So I took went on YouTube and looked this up. Signs that you may be taking it personally.
A great source of information.
I love YouTube. I love YouTube. Ooh, I love YouTube. So want to read the first one?
Okay. Okay. Yeah. You depend on the appearance of the other. On the approval. Depending on someone else's approval to make you happy. And if that's the case, then you're always looking for signs that maybe they're not or they are approving of you, right? And anything that's a little bit off, you're going to take as a sign that they don't approve of you.
Exactly.
And if their approval is that important, you're going to be miserable then.
Yeah. So you look for approval from others to make you happy. You don't have a way of making yourself happy. Okay.
Well, I have to go get my glasses if you're going to have me read this.
Okay, good. I'll read the second one.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Another sign that you may be taking things too personally, you apologize needlessly and are a people pleaser. You just apologize. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
All the time.
All the time, even when there's no apology required.
Necessary.
And you seek to please people at the expense of taking care of yourself. And I think what happens then, if you keep trying to please people, because after a while you become just a bore and annoying, that you develop resentment. That people aren't giving you.
It leads to a bad result.
Yeah, you're not getting what you want.
It's an unintended result. But that goes back to needing other people's approval so badly that you're exquisitely sensitive to even the least little, thing that says to you maybe they're not happy with you. Okay.
Third.
Okay.
You don't?
You don't set, or do you maintain your own boundaries as a rule?
Yeah.
So you're not clear what belongs to me and what belongs to you.
Like I'm over here, you're over there. I know who I am, what I think, what I feel. I blur because you say something, which I misinterpret or just interpret as taking it personally. I lose track of me.
Because I think a part of it is having the belief that somehow I am responsible for how you feel.
Right.
That's a lack of a boundary between the two of us, rather than you're entitled to how you feel. I might like it, I might not. But I didn't cause you to feel any particular way. That's your individual reaction, even to something I said or I did. It didn't. I didn't make you.
That's true.
You hear people say, "You made me feel," right?
Yeah, you did this to me.
Yes, but that's a lack of having a boundary between you and another person.
Yeah. And
it does lead to feelings of guilt and responsibility that
and the other person.
You shouldn't be owning those.
Right.
They're not really yours to own.
Another sign that you might be taking things too personally, Judy, is you're afraid to say no to people's requests.
Yes, I think that's true.
Yeah. Because if you say no,
They
the
might
fear
be upset
is
with you.
that you'll be upset. And you spend too much time obsessing about, oh my God, I can't let that person be upset.
Well, because I think it's the feeling of you're trying to avoid abandonment, which is a very primitive,
maybe.
Right, that's a very primitive and present fear for human beings.
So maybe what you're saying is under this sensitivity and taking things too personally is a fear about being abandoned, disapproval.
Right. Why would we care if somebody disapproved of us if we weren't afraid they were going to, in one way or another, punish us for their disapproval? And abandonment is the key.
That's a good one.
Thing
I think we see that often.
Right. Okay. You believe that all harsh comments about you believe anything negative somebody says about you, and you therefore are taking it personally.
Yeah.
Like you might accuse me of something.
Right.
Being selfish, that's a big one for women. I mean, women hate if somebody says, that's very selfish, because that has.
And you might take it to heart.
Well, yes.
Instead of saying, I didn't realize that, tell me more about that. Like throw
and
it
not
back.
Assuming it's true.
Yeah, exactly. Believing it's true.
What you're recommending, I think, is just being curious.
Yeah.
Like, why do you think so?
That's good. I like that.
Not just immediately going, oh my God, I'm selfish.
Yeah. Making the comment about your character instead of, oh, did I do something that bothers you?
Like?
Yeah. Instead of like, I'm selfish. Okay. Here's a good one. You view making a mistake in behavior as some character flaw, like there's something wrong with you. Maybe you mentioned that one.
If you make a mistake?
Yeah, and someone points out a mistake. You screwed up this paper, or you didn't do a great job. You get crushed. Oh my God, they think I'm stupid. They don't like me.
Generalize it.
Generalize it.
I see.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Another good sign is you get defensive.
You get defensive or angry easily when somebody says something you don't like, or you hear as a criticism.
Yeah.
All right. Sometimes we hear somebody say something as a criticism when really it isn't even a criticism. They're just making a comment.
Can you give me an example?
Or, I see a lot of couples, and it's sometimes what happens is, let's say, the wife in the couple gives their husband some feedback about some behavior that they don't like, or they're unhappy with, or they wish was different. And rather than being able to just listen to the particular issue that, in this case, the wife is trying to bring up to talk about, the husband will say, "You hate me. I'm just a horrible person," and right. So it's like throwing out the baby with the bathwater, rather than dealing with with the specific, let's say, feedback or criticism. They generalize it to their whole self. And then, it gets you off the hook, because what are you supposed to do if it's your whole self? But they hear it like their wife is saying, you're a useless piece of garbage, which she's not saying. No, not at all.
And then they're gone because they're in their head making up this terrible story that their wife thinks they're terrible.
She hates me.
So what's the point of even working in the relationship?
Yeah, well, that's how it ends up.
Yeah, right. And I think a good one, too, another sign is you end up obsessing too much after the event, so that it interferes with your daily activities. So these are some signs that you might be taking things too personally.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about what can people do about not taking it so personally.
Okay.
So one is you can practice emotional resilience.
All right, say more about that.
Well, emotional resilience is getting a little hardy, getting a little grit, realizing you may be a little too thin-skinned. And just saying, look, I think I tend to take things too personally. I need to learn how to take a hit, and like kids often
and go on ticking. It's like the old clock, right?
Yeah, right. I got the hit.
Looking and go on ticking.
I remember when I was young playing sports, and if someone hit you too hard, oh, you hurt me.
Oh.
And the coach would say, it's not personal. Come on, get a little tough here. Get in the game and play. But you hurt me. No, we didn't hurt you. You felt hurt. because he bumped you, but that's part of the game. So part of the game of life is knowing how to take a hit and get on with it.
Yeah, so...
Bouncing back.
Right. Now the question is, how do people develop that? Which maybe we'll talk more about.
Yeah, but not now.
Not now,
We're
right.
kind of out.
Okay, I like the second one.
This one?
Yes, give the other person the benefit of the doubt. In other words, don't jump to the assumption that there's something negative going on with that person about you, but strive to find out what's happening.
I see. Yeah. How would you do that?
Ask.
Oh, okay.
It's very simple.
Yeah, look what my client did.
Exactly.
By going to the boss.
Right. Seek first to understand,
right.
like Stephen Covey says.
Exactly. That's a good.
You need to understand the reality of what's happening to have a response that makes sense, actually, in the situation. To actually address what's going on rather than what you imagine is going on.
You want to deal with real evidence rather than mind-reading evidence.
Right.
Okay? Another good way of dealing with taking it personally is to give yourself some credit. Take a step back and say, wait a minute, hold it. I am feeling a little hurt here. I might be taking it too personally, maybe not. Until I can seek clarification and understand where he's coming from, let me remind myself of my successes, what I like about myself, so that give yourself a little self-compassion and approval.
Yeah, that's a great thing.
Uh-huh.
I have this box that I keep.
Yeah.
I'm now up to 2 boxes, like shoebox size, right? And if somebody sends me a note, or you send me a card, or one of the kids does, I save it, okay? And when I'm feeling negative about myself, which happens sometimes, if I'm in a low state, I will read the card.
Oh, that's great.
Okay? I'll sit on the floor of my closet, and I'll go through my boxes, and I'll read my cards with the idea that maybe I don't always know.
I love that.
Maybe I'm not always the best judge.
Right.
Of who I am. Especially if I'm not feeling great about myself.
Yeah.
That maybe people in my life might have something to say to me that's positive. And it really helps me. So I highly recommend doing that.
Yeah, keeping it,
because everybody has low moments.
Yeah. So I think it's a great idea to keep the little cards and little mementos that remind you that you're okay.
Exactly.
And there's another one, which is to journal your negative thoughts.
Okay.
Get out of your head. The key is get out of your head. The head is the worst place. If you want to stay miserable, stay in your head. So one way of getting out of your head is just get a journal of miserable thoughts, and write them down. I think we're going to keep coming back to that during the series. Journaling. I find many of my clients really appreciate journaling, because then they look at it and say, oh my God, I'm out of control here. I mean, is all this stuff really going on? They get the absurdity. Once they see 10 or 12, the list of
everything.
Exactly.
Thinking.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So I like this one, practicing mindfulness. So sometimes, I don't know about you, but when I wake up on a Monday morning, for example, if I'm taking things too personally, like I don't have enough clients, or a client canceled an appointment, I might take that personally. I might say, all right, just kind of notice what's around the room.
Yeah.
What's going on in your body. Get out of your head. Mindfulness is simply finding some way of being present. Exactly. So you want to distract yourself from your miserable thoughts of it's personal.
Your miserable thoughts.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's what a lot of this comes down to.
It
miserable
really
thoughts. Right?
And I think the most important thing I can say about not taking things personally, Judy, is this.
Yes.
People do not wake up in the morning thinking about how to make your day miserable. They have enough trouble waking up thinking about how you're not going to make their day miserable.
Agree. That's true. I love that statement.
Don't you love it?
I do love it.
Yeah.
We lose sight of that sometimes.
And we get a little chuckle out of it. And,
we think we're way too important in other people's lives.
Oh my God, we're not that important. Not that important. Sorry, folks, you're not that important. You're not a celebrity. You're not a Kardashian or whatever it is. So anyway, that's our first one. What's that?
No, yeah, I'm just agreeing.
Okay. So today we talked about a little bit about what people want. We talked about a brief definition of misery.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about some questions. Are you taking things too personally? The impact of taking things too personally. And then we gave some ways in which to deal with it. Hope you found this helpful, guys. See a few friends of ours. Oh, Jessie Jackson, our niece. Ooh, hi, Jess. Keep those pictures coming. Love you, sweetie. Anyway, glad you're here. Next week, you know what I'm going to talk about next week?
What are we going to talk about?
This is a big one.
I love it with you. You're always a surprise.
I love it. Rumination.
Oh, man.
Rumination.
That has been my downfall more than once in my life.
Rumination. Rumination.
Well.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
All right. So go through the week. See if you're taking things personally.
Just notice. Just notice.
Yeah, just notice.
Yeah.
And just label it. Hey, I think I'm taking things personally. Where's my evidence? Maybe I need to check it out. Get some courage. Or as we would say in the gym, get some balls. And check it out. All right. I think we better hang up.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.